Imagination Development Group proudly presents Chris and Amy Meet Amelia Earhart.
Grandpa, can you tell me another story, please?
Well, it's getting kind of late, Amy, and you and I have to wake up at dawn to milk the cows before you leave to go back home.
Home. Amy had been so busy with her grandparents here on their dairy farm in the little town of Minesville, she hadn't given home a second thought until now. She had ridden Tessie, their brown and white spotted pony, who always seemed to have one ear pointing up and the other pointing down. She'd baked chocolate chip cookies with her grandma and gone on a hike through the big green pasture, picking colorful wildflowers to press between the pages of her grandpa's big atlas. But best of all, she'd sat on the porch for the past 2 nights with her grandparents, listening to her grandpa's stories.
You sure have been story crazy this visit.
Amy's grandpa always sat in the same old crooked rocking chair on the porch. Even though his face was wrinkled and he needed glasses to read, and he didn't have any hair left on the top of his head, he seemed like a kid to Amy.
Just one more. Pretty please.
Okay, sweetheart, but we'll make it a short one.
Yay! Thanks, Grandpa. Can it be about flying?
Well, now, let me see. Ah, yes, I know.
Amy smiled. There was something magical about Grandpa's stories, how they always seemed to come to life. Suddenly, Amy found herself thinking about her new friend, Chris Brown, back home, and the amazing adventure they shared in his barn. That had seemed magical, too. Looking up at the star-filled night sky, she wondered what Chris was doing right now.
Sleep tight, sweetheart.
I will, Mom. Good night.
Snuggling under his covers, Chris was thinking of Amy, too. He wondered if she was still awake as he carefully positioned a brand-new tadpole catcher beside his pillow. He and his dad had made the catcher out of a green coffee can with red stripes and a plastic top with holes poked in it so that air could get in and out. Chris planned to get up early tomorrow morning and go hunting for tadpoles in the creek behind his new house. Would he be lucky? Knee-deep in the cold water of the creek, Chris had been trying to catch tadpoles for an hour. Being from the city, this was new to him, but he was having a great time.
4 more to go.
Chris had a bet with his dad that he could catch 5 tadpoles before lunch. Even though he wanted to win the bet, he's more concerned about what time Amy will be back. It's been 2 days since she left to visit her grandparents, but to Chris, it seemed like 100. He couldn't stop thinking about their adventure in the old red barn and about what Mentor the Magnificent had said to them.
What's wrong with you kids nowadays? You'd think you'd lost your ability to imagine.
At the time, Chris wasn't sure what Mentor was trying to say, but for the past 2 days, he'd noticed that when he watched TV or played video games, Even though he had fun, he didn't get to imagine things on his own. He didn't get to create movies in his mind that are only his.
Hi, Chris!
Jeez, Amy, you scared me.
Look at you, you're soaked!
Thanks a lot. The top came off my can and now I lost my tadpoles.
Sorry. Hey, there's millions of them over there under the big log.
Which log?
The one we walk on to get across the creek, silly. See?
Oh, yeah, that is big.
Your mom wanted me to tell you that lunch is ready. I asked her if we could go to the barn afterwards, and she said yes. Do you want to?
I've been wanting to go back there ever since you left. I'm glad you're finally back.
Me too.
Smiling, Amy and Chris started on the twisting dirt path back up to Chris's house. It was warm outside, and they could feel the sun beating down on them. Neither one noticed how hot it really was because they were so excited about going to the barn after lunch.
Hi, kids. I set 2 places for you out here on the picnic table, since it smells like paint inside. We're almost finished painting the kitchen. Here are some ham and marshmallow sandwiches and some rutabaga sticks. Chris, I also made your favorite drink, pink lemonade, with the lemons Amy brought back from her grandparents. I'll be inside with Dad. When you're done, just leave the plates and cups on the porch. I'll get them later.
Chris and Amy ate their lunch as fast as they possibly could.
Thanks, Mom. It was delicious.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brown.
You're welcome. Have fun at the barn.
We will.
Just be careful.
Amy and Chris dashed off toward the big red barn. They felt almost as if they were swimming, using their arms to push their way through the tall, thick green grass and yellow weeds that came up to their shoulders. They grew more and more excited with each step they took. At last, they could see the big red roof of the barn. They quickly pushed away the rest of the grass and finally arrived at the boarded-up window next to the gigantic front doors.
Here, I'll get this side and you grab that side.
Okay.
They carefully removed the square board that was loosely nailed over the window and set it down beside them.
You go first this time.
No, you.
Scaredy cat.
Nuh-uh. I'm just being pulled.
And before Chris could finish, Amy vanished through the window. Chris quickly followed her, pulling himself up to the window frame, swinging his legs through, then dropping down inside where it was very dark.
Amy, where'd you go?
Boom! Gotcha! Here, I'll help you out.
Amy reached down in the dark to grab Chris's hand.
Got your back.
Chris had picked up a wet, slimy rope that was next to him and put it in Amy's hand.
That wasn't funny. I thought it was a snake.
Let's go push the front doors open so it isn't so dark in here.
Amy and Chris reached the large front doors, which were blocked shut with a long board spanning both doors and suspended on metal brackets. With Chris on one end and Amy on the other, they quickly lifted off the board and began to set it down on the ground. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew open the doors. The barn was instantly filled with light, but it was also filled with dust, stirred up by the rush of wind, making it cloudy and hard to see.
I thought opening the doors was going to help us see.
Come on, let's move back inside and see if we can find the path to the old radio.
As the dust in the air settled, Amy and Chris moved deeper into the cluttered barn, picking their way along a twisty path through mounds of long-forgotten odds and ends. They squeezed past a big open trunk filled with lots of jewelry, which would probably be glittery if it wasn't covered with so much dust. They ducked under a huge wooden grandfather clock, which was leaning on an old musical instrument that looked like a grand piano, only it was shaped differently. Then they came to a huge pile of old hats. Some looked like they were from an old war. While others looked very fancy with beads, feathers, and other decorations on them.
Look, Chris.
Amy said, picking up an especially elegant hat.
This looks like something a princess or maybe even a queen would wear.
Come on, Amy. I want to go to the radio.
Suddenly, Amy was drawn to a hat that looked different than the others. It was black with a white lining and seemed to be made all out of leather. The leather looked old and rugged. It reminded her of the hat her grandfather was wearing in a picture on her grandmother's dresser. It was from when they first met, and he was in the army.
Wait, Chris. I see one I want to try on. Ugh, I just can't get to it.
Come on. I want to go to the radio and talk to Mentor the Magnificent.
Please, this won't take long. I think it might have belonged to a soldier or maybe even a...
Can't you do it later? What's that?
Startled by the loud, scratchy sound, Chris and Amy looked around the barn. Then they heard a familiar voice.
Chris, I'm disappointed in you.
Chris and Amy peered anxiously into every corner of the barn, trying to find out where the voice was coming from.
Mentor? Where are you? I don't see your radio.
Well, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you're not being very fair to Amy.
What do you mean?
Amy wanted to discover a story behind that interesting hat, and you didn't want to let her.
Well, I just...
Oh, don't worry, Chris. You didn't commit a crime. Just remember, you should never prevent another person from using their imagination.
Chris turned to Amy.
Amy, I'm really sorry.
It's okay, Chris.
Where is that hat? Let's see it.
It's right over there, underneath that blue baseball hat with a D on top.
You mean that black leather one?
Uh-huh, with the two flaps hanging down like beagle ears.
Pushing all the other hats aside, Chris climbed to get Amy her hat. Just as he grabbed it, the loud, scratchy sound started again. This time, though, it was clear where it was coming from.
Look, Chris, the radio. Mentor's radio. It's moved.
Chris looked to his left and saw a slanted wooden cart with two wheels, which reminded him of a picture he saw of Roman soldiers riding chariots. The tall radio was standing in the place where a person would put his feet.
How'd it get there? It was all the way on the other side of the barn 2 days ago.
Let's check it out.
As they stepped up to the radio, Chris began to play with the buttons and the dials.
This is weird. Radios don't move by themselves.
Oh, they don't they? I can imagine dozens of ways a radio could move by itself.
Amy and Chris just stood there for a moment, amazed.
Chris, that was nice of you to get the hat for Amy. Why not ask her to try it on?
Oh, yeah. Here, Amy.
Wow, it feels kind of neat. What do I look like?
Like you're an airplane pilot. Where do you think it came from?
I don't know, but that doesn't mean we can't imagine something.
Yeah, we can imagine a story.
Okay, you ready?
Yep. Eyes closed on 3.
Uh-huh. 1, 2, 3.
What do you see? Wait, don't tell me. You're flying an airplane over the ocean, but not very high. There are waves on the water, and some seagulls flying beside the plane. And, the ocean air smells really good.
Actually, that's not at all what I'm seeing.
It's not?
I'm at the top of some rolling green hills, green as emeralds. Down below are neat little pastures, all divided by low stone walls. There's a small stone house with a chimney and smoke coming out of it.
And suddenly, it was dark.